Kia ora, ko Paul Toka Wingwa. This is my topic for this video presentation. My stance is that RJ programs have promised a more effective and humane alternative to traditional punitive measures, raising their popularity and prevalence. However, I contend that RJ is not an effective intervention at reducing recidivism, despite improving other relevant outcomes for both offenders and victims. Starting with the definition, RJ is a process whereby all the parties with a stake in a particular offence come together to resolve collectively how to deal with the aftermath of the offence and its implications for the future. Its goal is to repair broken relationships and reintegrate clients into their communities. I used this meta-analysis by Fulham et al. Because it was recent and had many sources that I cited. Their key findings were that studies that found RJ to be effective at reducing recidivism had poor methodological design. Secondly, there was a questionable link between RJ and principles of the risk-needs responsivity model. And finally, they saw previous meta-analysis of effectiveness of RJ are limited in their validity. There is either a tendency to be too narrow in their definition of RJ, cited by Bradshaw et al., or too broad, collapsing across different RJ programs without considering program differences as potential moderators, as highlighted by Latimer et al. So why is RJ not an effective alternative? So Fulham et al. Found, despite proliferation of these programs, studies that claim RJ is an effective alternative in reducing recidivism are poor methodologically. Specifically, RJ only demonstrated significant reductions in general recidivism when the study quality was rated as poor in the CODC guidelines, versus those that were rated as weak or good. They found there was no significant effect on general recidivism. This came down to the lack of random sampling in the poor studies and study and program moderators that led to research biases. You can see from this table out of Fulham et al., they studied 28 studies, and 7 were rejected based on these CODC guidelines, 15 were weak, and 6 were good. And they were the ones that had no significant effect on general recidivism. As an example, a meta-analysis by Chaplin et al. That was identified as weak found offenders who participated in RJ committed statistically significant fewer offences than those in the control group. Also, Fulham et al. Highlighted the questionable link between RJ and R&R. RJ programs are designed to place less emphasis on rehabilitation for offending populations versus more on the victims, which is often needed for more high-risk groups. So those at high risk may not match the intensity of the program, and therefore the first R, the risk principle, is not met. Furthermore, purist programs have a greater reliance to RJ principles, and this is key for optimizing program outcomes. These programs are less beneficial at reducing recidivism. However, despite this questionable link, proponents of R&R support e.g. Bonta, support the effectiveness of these programs in reducing recidivism in both juvenile and adult clients. So if RJ is not effective, are traditional punitive measures effective? Well, in a seminal article by Lipsy and Cullen, they found rehab measures to be more efficient than punitive programs. The best performing punitive program is not nearly as efficient as the least efficient rehab intervention, and the least efficient punitive program increased the rate of recidivism. Therefore, punitive programs that focus on deterrence can cause harm, as noted by Andreas. But what part does RJ play in rehabilitation? Well, it plays an integral part. Rehabilitation generally involves education, counselling, skills training, mediation, and community involvement. These last two are specific to the RJ process. Specifically, RJ establishes a sense of accountability on the client while reducing stigma and reliance on punitive measures. This has led to an increase in RJ programs and a threefold increase in US state laws related to its use. It's used in schools both here and in the US. There's been a movement towards these programs even despite the lack of empirical evidence. Kimbrough et al. Note that this lack of evidence is due to the fact that RJ does not have definitional boundaries, making it hard to limit its essence to that of a particular program, practice, philosophy, or outcome. Furthermore, it may be more effective in alternative in juvenile populations. So Kimbrough et al. Found small to moderate and statistically significant reduction in future delinquent behaviour relative to more traditional justice responses. Unfortunately, these results were smaller and non-significant for more rigorous random assignment studies, raising similar concerns to that of Fulham et al. About the robustness of these findings. However, a more recent study that has not been scrutinised by either Fulham or Kimbrell et al. Was that a mixed method approach of quantitative analysis and qualitative interviewing by Flora et al. And they found positive results for reducing recidivism in juvenile populations through addressing root causes of delinquency. So it may be good to get in early with RJ. So in summary, most research into RJ suggests, despite its merits, it has had little impact on recidivism. And unfortunately, inconsistency in methodology and fidelity of studies requires caution when interpreting positive results for RJ. However, there is a place for alternative means of punishment than punitive measures in the form of rehabilitation, and RJ plays an integral part of this. RJ may be more effective than traditional measures in juvenile populations, according to a recent study. So there are positive outcomes for RJ. Its focus on victims and community. However, this is at the expense of the application of the RNR model and offenders' needs in respect to reducing recidivism. Ngā mihi, thank you.